All right, so this is my research project on video game genres and personality types. Next slide. So, as an intro, why am I doing this? The video game industry is a very large industry and up and coming, and is continuing to grow. According to the Internet Software Association, the primary organization responsible for managing the business and public affairs of many video and computer game companies, 65% of Americans play at least 1 hour video games a week. Also, according to the Entertainment Software Association, $56.6 billion was spent on video games alone in 2022. So this is a very big market. And looking into what sort of games people would like to buy and what sort of games you would want to purchase could be very useful. So a bit of the lit review. And the first point I would like to go over is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. According to Adrian Fernham in 2021 study, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator has substantial evidence, has accumulated suggesting the inventory has satisfactory concurrence and predictive validity and reliability. In Myers' 1998 Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Manual, it describes the four main sections that it looks at: introversion and extroversion as complementary attitudes and orientations of personal energy, with those with introversion more likely to draw energy from the environment towards inner experience and reflection, while sensing and intuition as two kinds of perception. The thinking and feeling are two kinds of judgment that include all ways of coming to conclusions and making decisions about what has been perceived. And then judging and perceiving. This development was based on observation that some people habitually use judgment, thinking, or feeling when interacting with the outside world by being more likely to come to conclusions, while others appear to prefer perception, sensing, or intuition by continuing to gather information for as long as possible. This also, another thing I would like to talk about is video game genres. The main way that video games are categorized are ludolistically, meaning that it is more about how video games are played rather than the types of stories within those games. So, in a study by Zamato in 2010 called Gamers' Personality and Their Gaming Preferences, she has genres based on genres that are based on what you do in the game. But not only that, she categorizes into subgenres and supergenres, with action no shooting, action shooting, action fighting, and action fighting for the supergenre of action. Now my gap. I'm going to be doing I am going to be following a mentor study called Borders 2012. This was on college students and looked into personality types and their possible correlation to video game preferences. However, I'm going to be looking at a new population, as this was done on college students, while I'm going to be looking at high school students, specifically high school boys. And then I am also looking at a new time era as Borders did their study or at least published their study in 2012 and looked at data from before that. And now that we are in a new time with the fast speed that video games as a medium are evolving, it is relevant to look at it now to see if there is any correlation. So that brings me to my research question. How, if at all, does someone's personality affect their choice of video game genres, choice of video game genres they like? So my method is based on the relationship between personality and video game preferences by Borders. It consists of a 3-item demographic sheet, a 52-item gaming preferences sheet, a 50-item Myers-Briggs test, and an 8-item gaming patterns sheet. So my population is diverse. However, I do have a majority race of white or Caucasian, and I also have no freshmen in my population, which is rather unfortunate. And as stated before, due to the the population is entirely male. This is an excerpt from the 8-item patterns questionnaire that required the respondents to list their top 3 games. I then used a video game ratings website to get the genres of each of these games, and then categorize them by first, second, and third choice. So correlation to personality traits. What I found is there are no strong correlations, either positively or negatively. The most positive correlation I had was 3.17, with action adventurous games being somebody's second choice, and to being intuitive. And the most negative correlation I had was negative 0.295, with role-playing games being chosen third and being assertive. Now, as you can see, there's no connection between any of the surrounding correlations to it. So it's not like with the most positive, it's not that it's slightly less positive for action adventure being chosen third and being intuitive. They are basically completely random correlations of all very small values. So why such low correlations? First is my low response rate. I only got 98 responses to my survey, which is not enough to be statistically significant to a larger context, but I still ran statistics on this to see if I could glean anything from this population. There is the chance that the correlation is correct and there's just no connection here. But for reasons I'll explain later, I don't believe that. Third reason is there is statistical analysis, or there is a correlation, but more statistical analysis is needed to find where that correlation is. I believe this is more likely because my mentor study found some strong correlations, specifically using a 2-factor PCA got supergenres of action being made up of combat, racing, and online games, strategy games being made up of RPGs, sim, and sports games, and cognitive games of music and puzzle games. Now, they found that being friendly but emotionally and socially reserved was positively correlated to cognitive games, but negatively correlated to action games. And being open, extroverted, and motivated was positive to cognitive games and action games. So that leads me into some of my limitations. This was, first off, I'm a statistical software novice. For this project, I used R, but I really wasn't 100% sure of what I was doing and needed lots of help along the way to get to where I finally got to. The second one is that I have an all-male population, so for future studies, it'd be good to look into if there is a correlation among female students. As the Borders study was both male and female, I could have been limited by my only male population. And then my third limitation is the low but non-existent freshman participation. I believe this would be a good area to look into for future to get the wider picture. And here's my bibliography.
Terrific. Thanks, Carson. So I got a couple of questions for you.
Of course.
So the first one is, you had a lot of results generated through statistics. So how did you determine which results were important to include in your conclusion?
So I wanted to get a correlation between video game interests and the genre interest and personality type. So the Myers-Briggs test was already disambiguified by already sorting people into for the Myers-Briggs indicator test, I used an online Myers-Briggs test. So in my study, I had their thinking versus feeling already, each separated, so that was fairly easy to code or to make good for statistical analysis. But the video game interest was much harder because 50 questions, it's a lot. There was a lot of data there. So I used, in both Borders, there was a test to see how close the gaming preferences test is to people's actual likes. And so they took 50 respondents at random and checked their most liked games against what their preferences score are. So, and found that it was an accurate prediction of what games they would like. And using that logic, I used my respondents' top video games that they liked, and separated that to make sure that I got the top video games or the top video game genres that I wanted for this study. So I decided that was important to get to make sure I got some data that is useful for answering my question.
Okay, terrific. As a follow-up to that, how does your new understanding, articulated through your conclusion, how does that address the gap in the scholarly work you identified earlier?
All right, so as I said, the scholarly work I looked at primarily focused on college students, where they found these correlations. So while this research is rather inconclusive, as it's missing some key populations, the fact that there is no correlation that I could find could indicate that high school students are not as sure of what they like and aren't buying or aren't sure what types of video games they like, or if their personality and their interests aren't in harmony with each other, in a sense.
Okay, terrific. And then the final question is, what's the most important research skill you acquired while going through this process? And how do you think you will apply that to other projects you work on in the future?
So I would say the most important research skill, I'd say there's really two. The first one is learning how to read a research paper. Research papers are dense and very hard to get into, but being able to figure out where the meat of a research paper, like how to know what a research paper is about, then where to find the most meat of the research paper without getting into the very granular details of the research is very useful and can be used as I transition into college on more academic work. Then the other thing is public speaking, just being able to stand up here and talk to people and be comfortable. I know this is a very small crowd, but a crowd nonetheless. But to do that, I think will help me. I plan to go into engineering, so to pitch ideas and to present design documents to a group of people is a very necessary skill.
Okay. Fantastic.